This is Carrie and Summer with the Say My Name podcast that gives a voice to women's stories. It's my story, it's your story, it's our stories of pain and healing.
Betrayal doesn't begin to describe the knife that I pull out of my side. So I'ma put the past behind me, 'cause I got strength inside me, and a strength that I wanna share with you.
Please welcome Riley Abang to the Say My Name podcast episode number 15. Riley is a life coach certified in the Hungry for Happiness coaching program and specializes in helping women with anxiety. Her website is wildaircoaching.com. Please visit her site. She is amazing, talented, and incredibly inspired. Today we hear her story of how she left the Mormon Church, her journey through the crisis of her faith, and how she began to understand the beauty of what she already has within. Carrie and I both have a very personal connection to this story because of our own experiences with leaving our religion and culture in order to pursue a more intimately spiritual path. We are blown away by her wisdom and spiritual connection.
Okay, from the beginning. Oh my gosh, how far should I go? I don't know, because I'm still fairly young. You know, like I'm in my 20s. I'm 25. So, and I'm turning 26 soon. So it feels like to start at the beginning, I have to go, 10 years back or something and start when I'm 15. But, one turning point in my life that shaped me and who I am, it did happen when I was 15. And it was my dad suddenly died of brain cancer.
Wow.
So normally cancer is kind of something you find out about and then it's drawn out. But for us, we found out and 3 weeks later he was gone, like immediately. Yeah.
Oh.
It was crazy. It was so random. And I don't think anybody in my family saw it coming. I mean, when looking back, there were signs that he was sick, but they were just like headaches and like things that you could blame stress on.
Yeah.
And then, his symptoms like drastically turned and he started acting a little more childish, his personality started changing and things like that, enough that my mom was like, okay, you need to be seen. And yeah, we found out he had a tumor. And then 3 weeks later, like tumors, they were growing so fast. And then he was gone. Right. So as a 15-year-old, when you're 15, like everything that happens to you is
Dramatic,
magnified on top of the fact that it's a death in the family. Like it was even worse. It was like,
yeah,
it was everything. Right.
Yeah.
And my dad, so I grew up in the Mormon Church, which I know Carrie did. I don't know if Summer, did you grow up in the? Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah, you guys get it. You guys get it. So that's awesome. And, I haven't shared anything about growing up in Mormonism and leaving the church publicly yet. This is my first time.
Oh,
but I feel great because what I was asked, I've been wanting to share it. I felt complete, like in the place where I'm open to sharing. I've been sharing with friends and family, right? But to do it in publicly, like this, I wanted a safe space. And your podcast is perfect, right? Yeah. Like it's like the perfect scenario right now. So I feel really safe. My body feels safe. I'm just like, this is good.
Yeah, especially being that we are 100% empathetic with you. We get it because we both not only have left a religion, but the exact same religion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So while I was growing up, especially, I mean, I can't remember a lot, but from like the age of 10 to 15, I was so resistant to going to church, right? And my dad really wanted me to go. And he was kind of the one who was like, no, you're going to church, to the point where sometimes he'd throw me in the shower in my pajamas, like, we're going to church, right?
Wow.
And when he died, it was so interesting because I feel like death puts you in such a place of uncertainty that you just start grabbing at something that's going to make you feel safe and certain about something, and for me, it was religion. Like I just went so deep into the Mormon religion. I was like, I'm taking this on. I'm going to be the perfect Mormon. Like there was this story that because I was so resistant and my dad died, like if I embraced it, that would somehow what's the word? Like, make up for the fact that he spent all that time with me fighting me, like I wanted to make up for that. Right.
Right. And what if maybe also you were maybe thinking that would connect you more to him? Because that would.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. That's another thing. I haven't even thought about that. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But also it really did feel, now I'm able to put language to it, right? In the moment, I had no idea what was going on, but now looking back, it really felt like that happened to me because of my actions. Like it was a consequence, like he died because of what I did.
Right.
Right.
You want to go to church, so this is your punishment.
Exactly. Which created this deep, deep, deep fear of God. Right. Which is something I didn't even unearth until even just a year ago. Like I didn't know that was existing within me, but I feel like that was the point where that fear was born, that was when it was created. So after like my dad died, I just dove right in, and I'm the oldest of 4 girls, right? And to watch my mom experience the death of her husband, and then for me to have my sisters, like I just kind of grew up really fast, and I was just like, I'm just going to take on all this responsibility. I'm going to be the perfect Mormon. I'm going to show up, blah, blah, blah. Right. And, I ended up getting married, right? Really quickly, 19.
Yeah.
Married.
Of course.
Too.
Yeah. You too. You too, Summer?
I got married at 20, almost 20.
Okay. Yeah. Still really young,
Yeah.
And I remember the process of getting engaged and all of it was very exciting, and it was just all happening so fast. And I remember the moment my, the temple president said, "You are husband and wife," I just like broke down and I just felt this rush of emotion. I was just like, I couldn't explain what I was feeling, but everybody was saying that this is joy. Like, you're just so happy. But it was fear. It was like this deep fear of like, what did I just do? Like, I'm only 19 and I just got married. Like, what? Like, it's a lot of responsibility, and it did feel, it was almost like there was a lack of choice in the matter. Like, I mean, in the moment I was like, no, I'm choosing this. But after going through the awareness process, right, I'm like, no, I didn't choose that. Like, that was definitely an unconscious choice. Right.
Yeah. A very, very, very forced. And the other thing too, I could see that that weight that you felt of, because in that religion you're married for time and all eternity. So
yeah,
be apart. So this is like, I'm with this person forever. It's like, yeah, did I really make the right? I mean, it's an intense decision, and
and what was big for me that day was like, something that was really big, and I remember this still. I wrote about it the other day because we're looking into our stories and things, and I wrote down. I remember feeling like, how do I explain this? Like, in that moment, I was like, that's it. Like, I can't ever get divorced. I can't ever leave this relationship because that would be wrong, and I don't do things that are wrong ever, right? And if there comes a point where it's what I want versus what's right or wrong, I'm going to put right or wrong first.
Absolutely.
And that creates like this, that just kills like your heart. Like, when you have like a desire that you have that's so deep, and then the right and wrong, and to put that above your desire, it was, I ended up spiraling into depression after that,
So after you slipped into depression?
Yeah, it was worse after I had my baby, because I had my first baby. It was like 2 years after we got married. And during those 2 years, I was really distracted by school because I was going to BYU. So at school, like, I just went into this perfectionist mode, right? Like, getting all the A's. A B would just like kill me. Like, I had to get all the A's. I had to do it perfectly. I did 4 years worth of schooling in 2.5 years. Like I actually squeezed it down, you know, like wanting to be a high achiever, wanting to just like show the world like what I could do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until like I graduated and I found out I was pregnant the week I graduated. And then after that, it was just spiral, like depression, because I was so burnt out from school. Plus I'm married, plus I'm about to have a kid, plus I don't know who the hell I am. I was just like, what?
How old were you when you were pregnant?
21.
Okay.
Was it a planned pregnancy?
It was, yeah. I mean, looking back, right, it's the same thing as the marriage. It was so unconscious. It was just the next step.
Yeah.
Right.
Expectations.
Right. It was just like, well, we've been married for 2 years. I guess it's time to get pregnant. Right. You know, and it's like, well, we've been pregnant. I guess it's time to have another kid. Right. It's just kind of that next thing. And that's just, I don't know, just the whole idea of there's this way to do life and following that path unconsciously, so much suffering, you know, it just creates so much pain inside because it's not about what you want. Right.
It creates everybody's life to be in the exact same box. And it might be one person, but another person needs a triangle. Like it looks great on paper, but it's just not the way that we are meant to be. We are meant to follow our heart, follow our intuition, follow follow our bliss, what feels good. And sometimes it's not what Susie Q over there thinks as amazing.
Well, we're
blissful.
We're told what our bliss is supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing, right? You're sitting there like, why am I not happy? Like, I've done all the things I'm supposed to do. I'm doing all the right things. I'm doing all this, blah, blah, blah. And yet I still feel like I'm dying inside, you know?
That after I mean, my story actually is the, of my baby that passed away is the podcast right before yours that we just So I don't like his experience. I don't really think of that one because my depression was just different. It was a loss. It was mourning.
Yeah.
But after I had Emma, I went into a pretty intense depression as well. And I think it was because I was like anticlimactic. I had this idea of now I should be feeling complete. I've done what I'm supposed to do as a woman. I've gotten married. I was married in the temple and I birthed a child and everything should be perfect. And it wasn't. And I wasn't happy. I was feeling guilty that I wasn't enjoying being a mother. And I was like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I don't enjoy it. Like, what's wrong with me? So the feelings that you felt after you had your baby, or what was your depression? Do you feel like you know what it was stemmed from?
You know, I couldn't put words to it until it was a year and a half later that I went into my first coaching program. Right. And I really couldn't put words to it. I just really thought there was something wrong with me. And I remember writing in my journal, like, where did my energy go? Like, where did my fire go? Like, what's happened to me? You know, the part of me that is lit up about life. Like, where did she go? She's been gone for so long. And it wasn't until I was in my first coaching program that, well, before signing up for my coaching program, like, I started hearing about like Brene Brown's talk on vulnerability, right? I saw that. And then I had this friend who was so brave, and she had publicly announced that she was leaving the church. And I just watched her and I was just like, what? Like, what? You can do that? Like, and just admiring her from deep down, but on the surface being like, I could never do that. Oh my gosh. Right. And I remember like sending her the vulnerability talk and being like, this reminds me of you. And secretly like, I wish it reminded me of myself. Like, why can't I do these brave things, you know? And that led me into learning about authenticity and what that means, right? To not hide, to not have one part of you inside doing one thing versus one side outside of you doing another thing, right? I'm like, oh my God. When I heard about authenticity, I was like on fire for like weeks. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is what I want. Like, that is it. That's what I'm craving. Like, that's what I need in my life. I need to be who I am on like, you know,
Feels so,
and so, oh, it's just, yeah, just learning about the idea. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yes. Like, that's what I'm looking for.
People do
and
that?
I know. And I actually remembered.
so I can be
church.
unapologetically me.
Yeah, I can just be me and life could work out for me. Like, I could make money and just like be happy and, you know,
It feels mind blowing.
it is. It really is.
Really, it does.
It did. Yeah. And I remember going to church and starting to use that word at church.
Yeah.
And I started publicly, like, basically publicly investigating the church. So I started meeting with the missionaries. I told the missionaries, like, hey, I don't feel authentic at church. Like, I don't feel it. I don't feel it in my bones. Like, and I want to feel this. If I'm going to come here, it needs to feel right for me. Right. And I was talking about it at church and people were just like, what is this word that you're using? Like, authenticity. Like, what is this? You know? And it was so weird.
Don't do that here.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. And which like, now that I'm outside of the church looking in, like, it's so sad. I'm like, God, like, can't we just, and there was a little time where I tried to like spread this kind of message of authenticity. And it was, yeah, it did like light people up, but then there would be this kind of after reaction of fear, right? Like, just like, oh, but that's not allowed, you know? But I was like, I can't, like, now that I know about this, like, I can't go back. Like, I have to keep going down this path. So I met with missionaries for like a year, like combed through every little thing. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. Like, there's just little tweaks to all these different truths that you're teaching me. And there's just a little tweak, and it feels good to me, but that's not what you're teaching.
That is yes.
Yeah. So I'm like, yay, somebody gets this.
Totally.
So I ended up leaving the church actually very peacefully. And like, I didn't feel angry or any, like, I was just like, actually, this just feels done. Like, it's just, I know that I've combed through all of this and it's not me.
Wow.
You know, and it just felt so good. Like, and luckily, I'm really lucky because I had a lot of support from my husband and from my mom. Like, people in my life weren't judging. I mean, there was a moment where my husband was scared, right? He was like, wait, but what does this mean about how we end up, you know? And we kind of went through a little bump there, but for the most part, what he noticed and what like really had him supporting me was he could see me lighting up.
Yeah.
You know, like he saw me in my depression. He'd be the one sitting there at the end of the bed, like, what? Like, what is going on? This doesn't make sense. I don't know what to do for you. I don't know how to help you. So when he saw me going through this process and doing things that really felt good to me, he was like, I can't not support this. Like, I want you to be happy, you know? So I was really lucky there because I know that that's not something that everybody gets to have.
So does he still go to church? Is he still active?
Actually, he does. Yeah, he does. Mm-hmm. And we do it peacefully. It's amazing.
Wow.
He does what's right for him, and I do what's right for me, and we support each other in that. Yeah.
So did he have any concerns about the kids? Like, well, what?
Well, here's the thing. So I, like, with my kids, I'm just holding a space of neutrality for them. And what I've asked of Michael is that he holds that too. So sometimes he'll bring them to church. But I ask him just to not like push it on them. You know, like we don't do all of the things at home that he should be doing, right? Like he's just allowed our home to just be neutral.
Oh.
And when they go to church, they can be at church. And when they're not at church, they can just be at home. You know, and my hope for that is that I want Maya and Remy, right, my two kids, to both come to a place where they get to decide what it is that lights them up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't want any like should on them.
Yeah.
or like this is because mom said so. Like, I don't want that for them. I just want them to choose. And if they choose that going to the Mormon church lights them up, great, go for it. Like, you know. Oh, can you hear me?
You're okay now.
You're good now. Yeah.
Okay.
It started to kind of go robotic. So repeat that again, just in case if it recorded weird.
Okay.
Yeah. So
What was it?
Just that you want your children to have the choice.
Yeah.
That mom.
I want them to be able to choose something that lights them up. So if going to the Mormon church genuinely lights them up someday, I will allow that.
yeah.
You know, it's just really about feeling it in your bones. Like, I just want everybody to feel what they're doing in their bones, and that's what they're doing.
I love your story because it's so fun, because we all have our own unique story of our experience in the Mormon church. And that I was really, really, really religious and Mormon, and my ex was innocently researching the Mormon history, the religion's history, and just stuff that just couldn't it just couldn't resonate with his soul, and he couldn't be a part of the church anymore because of all the information they learned, and didn't tell me about it. But I could just feel that something was off, and we ended up having a conversation, and he ended up telling me, I don't believe in this religion. And just with the mentality that I had and the belief that I had, I was like, we can't be married then. I can't be with somebody who doesn't believe in this religion. And I remember thinking my whole entire life was going to crumble at that second. Pure panic of, oh my God, I have this horrible husband that is basically taken over by the devil. And we really worked through that and found a space to where I felt okay and he was okay. And basically it was that he had to come to church with us. So we looked like the good Mormon family, and then he could, believe and think however he wanted. But it was basically like, if you want to be with your family, you're going to have to continue going to this religion. And now where I'm at, not being in the religion, I have so much appreciation for him for doing that, because it was going against his belief system and what he felt like was right or wrong, but he continued to go for our family. So just going back to your story, it's so beautiful that your husband is willing to accept you for who you are and respectful of your beliefs, and is not trying to push you, because I didn't give my husband an option. As I know you're going.
Yeah.
Be married to me. So
for sure. And I am really lucky. He said that a few times to me. He's like, you know how lucky you are that you married me, right? I'm just like, yeah, I guess so. And it's so fun for him. Not fun. It's been amazing for him to watch my transformation. 19-year-old Riley and me now is like completely different human being.
Yeah. Woman.
I can't believe that he even married me, first of all, but stayed with me through all my stuff, like the 19 and the 20 and the 20. It was just insanity. I mean, I would fight with him, so much conflict, so wanting to be perfect, all of this stuff, wanting to control him, needing his validation. There were so many different pieces to where I was, but ultimately it just came down to this thing where I was just like, I have to figure this out. I can't just keep going down this thing. And there's in the first coaching program I did, there was this thing that they talked about, which was the certain and most probable future, right? If you keep going the way you're going, what's going to happen? And I was like, I can totally see it. It's going to be divorce. It's going to be unhappiness. It's going to be, using all these things to rely on coke, food, medication, whatever it is, and just keep going down that path. So, anyway, there came a point where I was just like, this has to shift, and I have to be brave. I have to be brave and say the truth. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Amazing.
So a couple of things. I felt really similar to you. I wanted so much to make it okay when I went to church. and I would translate what was said in my mind and make it something.
Yeah.
And I did that for several years. And I even had an acronym for Satan because I just couldn't stand the thought of there actually being a Satan. So, well, maybe every time I hear the word Satan, I'll just think saying anything or thinking anything negative. That's what I'll think that really means.
Wow.
And I mean, all kinds of things like that, because I wanted to make it okay, but it took so much emotional energy. Come home from an activity or church or whatever, I was exhausted and can't keep that up. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you know, parts of you start to die and start to like crumble, and it's just too much for you and you have to let some of it go. So at what point did you, you said you listened to that talk about vulnerability and then you started to hear about authenticity, but how did you figure out your relationship with your dad and your relationship with God during all that? Because for you, he was a vengeful God. Dad, wanted you to do this. So how did you reconcile that with both of those?
I love that you're asking me this question. And thank you for sharing. I resonate so much with what you just said too about the exhaustion.
Yeah.
Like, cause I tried doing that for a while too. I guess, so when I was diving into authenticity and vulnerability and speaking my truth and all these different things, something else that came into my life was intuition, right? Like just the idea that the wisdom is already inside you. You already have the answers. And a teacher that I was following taught to write to your intuition, to just write down a question and then listen. Let it come to you, and write down the question and then listen. And it was so cool because this idea of writing to your intuition and just listening, it was like, it didn't feel like something that could leave and come as it pleased, right? Like it wasn't conditional.
Like the Holy Ghost.
Right. It wasn't conditional on my actions. It was just already inside me. And no matter who I am or what I'm being, the answer would come. And it was amazing what was coming through me. Like when I would just listen to my heart, the messages that came through were blowing my mind. I was like, that resonates so much. Like, and I just came up with that. Like,
right. And brilliant.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was so amazing. And I even remember showing my letters to my intuition to the missionaries because I was meeting with them at the same time. And they were like, whoa, like that's so cool. That sounds so true. And yet it's not what the church was teaching. Right. Wow. So it was just like, I don't know. Having that really helped me have this spiritual, right? Because there's you can't really explain that unless it's spiritually explained. So that helped me create a new feel good relationship with something that couldn't be explained. Right. And it felt so much better to me that God is within me and around me, and you have an intuition and you have an intuition. It's within all of us. It's everywhere. Right. Like that just felt so good. I was like, okay, so it's not just this man outside of me leaving and coming as he wants to, depending on my action. Right. So it just felt better. But I will say, like, that fear that like metabolized in my body throughout all those years of God, I didn't unearth that until later, like just recently, right? Like where I really had like a bodily physical experience of the fear I've had around a power outside of me, right? Like it just brought me to my into a fetal position. Like there is this power outside of me that could destroy my life and take everything away from me that I love. Like that still existed in my body for a really long time, even though I had a connection to my intuition at the same time. So until I unearthed that, it wasn't complete. Like I didn't feel that complete freedom. You know, the even the ability to share my story wasn't there yet, because there was still that weird feeling in my body that's like, man, there's something still there, right?
Like
So once I unearthed that, and what it was I'm scared of God.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the truth that came out of my mouth, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's it. That's what's been bothering me all this time. Like I'm just scared of this God that's outside of me, right?
So how did you come to that?
Well, my husband and I, we tried cannabis for the first time together.
Awesome.
and that's what came up.
Yeah.
When you're on that, like you can really unearth some stuff that wasn't available before.
Well, it relaxes you for sure to be able to see things as they are.
Well, so what's interesting is I had been writing to my intuition so much up until that point. And I think like when I consumed the cannabis, my intuition was enhanced. So my first experience on cannabis, like it felt like my intuition was like in front of me, and I was just talking with this source of truth. And I was just like, and I was just asking all these questions, and I'd hear an answer immediately, like right there. It was like a conversation, and my husband was there supporting me. And then there was just this moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm scared of God, right? And I just started crying and just like, oh, this is it. Like that's what's been bothering me up until this point. It was so, I could feel the fear, like just so there, right? After that point, like it was so, I feel so light when it comes to talking about God. I'm like, actually, it's just, no, it just feels good.
So can you talk about God? Because I'm just barely turning the corner again where I can even say the word God with happy feelings. I have to use the word, and I still use the word, the universe, source, Mother Earth, energy, my higher self, inner guides, whatever. I still use those because they feel good. But I'm just barely turning the corner where saying God feels good, because for so long, God was, like you said, an emaciated Santa Claus sitting on the telling me that what I was doing was wrong and I had to prove myself. So I'm just getting there. So how can you use that word, and how do you think about that?
I'm not there. Summer uses the word God and I'm triggered.
It depends who I'm talking with, Summer. Like it really, I change the word depending on who I'm talking to and how they understand what I'm talking about.
True. Yeah. So
there's some clients I have that I use the word God because they're still in a Christian religion.
Yeah.
There's other ones who have never been in a religion, and I just use source or universe. And I don't know. I guess I think that moment where I realized I'm scared of God, it just completed so much for me. Just realizing that was what was bothering me. Like, and then after that, it just felt like I'm brand new. Like it was like a new beginning.
Like,
it
was wiped clean.
Yeah.
Like, so you can use the word God now and feel
and it doesn't trigger me.
Yeah. It's peaceful.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing.
I don't think I could use the word Heavenly Father, though. I think that still triggers me a little bit.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm so far away from that.
I can't do that. No.
Yeah.
I don't even want to get there.
Yeah.
So far away, I don't even.
Well, because now I believe God is not I don't believe it's a gender. Like
a gender, even in like a body, like it's not even, that just makes, to me, it makes God so much smaller. Like it's
puts God in a box for sure. Yeah, I can resonate with that.
Limits it.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
completely.
How did you, all right, here's the question that I want to ask members of the church and people who haven't been going to church alike. So when we were taught about the Holy Ghost, when we were taught about the Spirit, we were taught about feelings in our body. We were taught about tingling or chills or things like that. That was supposed to represent the Spirit,
the Holy Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
But I got chills and feelings in my body when I was doing other things too, not just at church. And then I remember someone explaining that away, like, well, then that must have been inspired by God. It was something good. You know, like one of the articles of faith is, you know, whatever is good, we seek after these things. So that must have been good in some way. And so that's why you felt the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So how, like, when you were transitioning, you know, to out of the fear, how did you reconcile or explain or understand, you know, the Spirit and what that was when you felt tingly, when you were in a Sunday school lesson, or when someone was bearing their testimony, or when you heard a hymn or something?
That's a good question. It's so weird because I feel like it was even before I was like in my depression. Like, I think in my depression, I let go of Holy Ghost, Satan, like all of those different things. It just felt so irrelevant to the pain I was in that I was just like, I'm just going to stop thinking about that stuff because it's just making me feel worse. To think like this is my fault and right. So it's so weird because I remember like when I first started meeting with missionaries and having the pamphlets, right, that explain things so simple, right? Yeah. The Holy Ghost is blah, right. Satan is blah, right? And I was just I just remember reading it and just being like, this just feels really silly. Like it just feels really trivial. You know, I'm like I don't know. I feel like I let go of these definitions and entities. I guess is the word, like these different entities that we're taught about. Like I let it go pretty early because it just felt so like that's not going to help me be happy right now. Like I just want to feel some kind of joy and lightness today. Like can I just feel relief? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when I started writing to my intuition and feeling that kind of relief come within me, then I had the new word, intuition. Like it was just, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like my transition is so non-typical. Like, sometimes it's difficult to explain like how I let go. So
no, you're doing a beautiful job.
Yeah. So much of the stuff and not just the Mormon Church, but in a lot of religions are, they have, you know, good intentions with what they're trying to teach, but it's a lot of stuff that's outside of us. And that if we're not a certain way, we now have lost that privilege of using it. And so to me, I feel like the Holy Ghost is your intuition. It's intuition that's always been talking to you. And that's why you get the goosebumps. That's why you get that good feeling or that bad feeling. That's your intuition. Yeah. But in religions, they like to make it be something that you have to work for to have, or you have to be a certain way to be able to have that, or it's going to be taken away from you. So there's a fear around, oh my gosh, I better not do this or else I'm going to lose this. And what really is the truth is that we never lose it. Our intuition is always there no matter what choices we're making. It's just a matter of, are we in alignment with it or not alignment with it? Are we listening? Are we
allowing
it and allow ourselves to like hear what our intuition is telling us? But it's never away depending on like what choices we're making.
I also think, you know, when I think back on the times that I was sitting in church and thinking, oh, I'm feeling the Spirit right now, or the Spirit's so strong, or whatever, I was feeling other people's energy. I was feeling their sadness. I was feeling their pain. Or I was feeling their joy. Or I was feeling the innocence and the preciousness of these little 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
Or I was feeling, you know, that's what I was feeling.
Oh my gosh, that's such a aha, wow, you're so right.
Yeah, it wasn't my intuition telling me this is true. That's what I was led to believe. You know, if you feel something, anything, if you feel something during church,
it means it's true.
That means it's true. But I'm going to feel something in church because this person is crying on the podium.
Yeah,
and I'm
connecting with
that,
right?
You know, and this hymn is beautiful, and I feel that. You know, it's not necessarily something that's telling me that it's true. I'm just feeling their energy, and you know, it's not a certainty where, like, you know, when you wrote to your intuition, or when you feel something come up and you're just like, well, that's it. You know, that's it.
Well, and there was also kind of an all or nothing perspective
yeah.
of like, if I feel the spirit once, that means all of this is true. And it's like, well, no. And that was something that I went into my transition seeing, that I had this perfectionism, this all or nothing perspective. So I was very aware of that going in, like, this isn't all or nothing. There may be a chance that something I learned with missionaries is true for me, while other things might not be, right? So I just kind of let it be gray.
How did you do that?
Learning about perfectionism before. Like, just being like, somebody being like, you're a perfectionist. I think I had like a free call with a coach or something, and she was like, yeah, you're definitely struggling with perfectionism. Like, you're always going all or nothing. And
oh, totally.
That was when I started, like, I was struggling with binge eating and, you know, doing the all and the restriction and blah, blah, blah. Right. So, yeah. And that was when I was like, oh yeah, I totally am struggling with perfectionism. And I'm going to let that go. Like, I just want to be gray. I'm just going to be in the middle. It's tough though. You know, there's even still days today where I'll find myself going all in or all out. But, there was just,
it's about having a relationship with that part of you too, and just honoring that she's there, and this is part of who you are, and almost kind of just have a relationship with her, and just go, I see you. I see you're trying to come out and make everything just perfect and right, but like, it's okay. We can have a bit of flexibility to this.
Well, and how it something so big for me is how that all ties into self-worth. You know, like, the reason you're doing that in the first place is because you want to feel valuable. You want to feel like you're worth something in the world. And if you do it perfectly, that means you're worthy. That means you have value here. And then seeing that, and then being able to make myself feel worthy, and just like bringing that feeling in my body. Like, when you uncover all these layers and you get to why is this happening in the first place? Right. You know, it all comes down to this idea of conditional and unconditional. You know, it's like, is it outside of you or is it inside you already? It's inside you already. Like, it's already there.
I am so in awe of you.
I know.
You are 26 years old.
Yeah.
I am telling you, it took me decades to figure this shit out. Like, not when I was 26, I was so deep into that. And if you would have said, you don't have to be black or white, you can be gray, I would have been like, what? Bullshit. What the hell are you?
Yeah.
It's your perfect or your shitty ass broken. That's what you are. So I honor you, and just, I'm in awe of your journey and how you embody this. Oh my gosh.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know. There's some, something that I took on as a kid to try to help me accomplish things was figuring things out. Like, I can figure anything out. You put me in front of something and I can figure it out, right? That's kind of my strong suit.
We're so much alike.
And so it's almost like I took that strong suit and applied it to my spirituality. I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. And it's gotten me somewhere quicker than most people get. But, you know, there's still a lot of, you know, I still went through a lot of pain, like deep pain in a short amount of time. I was like, wow, like, this is horrible, you know? Yeah. So that was really a huge motivator. And then there were people in my life, people who are really close to me, also suffering, right? In the same way that I was. And I was just like, this can't be it. Like, this can't be it. Like, I have to figure this out. I'm not going to allow me and people I love so dearly to just suffer. Like, come on. That can't be what God wants for us. That can't be, you know, it just felt so wrong to be suffering so deeply, you know? And then the typical fixers, right? Like the Band-Aids that were offered, I could see that they were Band-Aids. Because I had watched people in my life use them and not get better. Yeah. Right. So I was like, nope, like, I'm not doing that. Not doing that. Like, I really want to figure this out, like, get to the truth of it, you know? So if there's anything that's kind of helpful from growing up in the Mormon church, is that I do value truth now. Like, I value knowing and feeling truth
Right.
because that's what we talked about my whole life. But it really does have to feel like truth for me. It has to be that clunk feeling in my bones that's like, this is right, you know?
That's a good way to describe it. I love that.
Yeah, I feel the same way, that the contrast that I experienced over the years of being in the Mormon religion, I'm actually really grateful for, because it just brings more surety of like what I believe and who I am and how I choose to show up in life, and what my purpose is and what lights me up. It's given that to me, that I wouldn't have had if I had not had the experiences that I had throughout my life. So,
oh, for sure.
you know, there's no bad that happens to us. Everything is for us 100%. Summer and I both believe that to like the depths of our core. It's all a matter of if we choose to see what is it that is for us, for like experience or whatever it is that has happened. And it's beautiful that you had, like, so young, have like already have that clarity and see that and are moving in the direction that you are in. Now, we didn't say it in the beginning of the podcast, but we're both in the same program together, the Hungry for Happiness certification program. And that's how we got to know each other. And so tell me about what you're planning to do next, because we're almost done. We only have 1 month. Basically, like a month and a half left, 6 weeks, I think. And then we're done, which is so like bittersweet. It's been such a ride of beautiful awakening and sadness and like anger and like everything. We're not only learning these tools, we're actually like applying them to ourselves and digging in and going through all this stuff. Like, it's been intense. And so we fully embody all these tools that we're now going to be teaching these women. So what are you doing with your program? Like, cause this is all, everybody's doing their own thing. So tell us about what your plan is.
Yeah. So I'm taking a little bit of a different route, than the rest of the group. I came into the program for my food and body practice, because I had already started coaching. I did another certification before this one, right? So I had already started doing food and body, and then through this work, it's really helped me. I don't know. It's so interesting. When I was telling just my food and body story, it was fine, but now I'm so ready to have all of my story and it's not just about the food and body. Like, it's about like, what religion are you in, and what this and what that, and like, where are you at? Like, the whole person, right? So I'm kind of going into what I'm calling emotional health coaching, which is working with women who feel too much and think too much, like just always feeling and always thinking, and just can't go after what they truly want, because they're in that spiral of thoughts and feelings and not knowing what to do with all of them. So I'm keeping it really simple for the beginning part. I just want to work one-on-one, really intimate with these women. 6-month program, and that's it. I'm just keeping it really like clean and simple.
I think it's beautiful, and I absolutely know, without a doubt, you are going to have women knocking down your door. You're a healer. You're so needed. You're needed. I'm so glad that you've risen up and you're following your passion and your purpose and your calling. It's beautiful to see, and we honor you in that.
Yeah, to work
Thank
with
you.
months. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
An hour and I'm already mesmerized. I'm like, so then what? What should now? I'm going to be writing to my intuition tonight.
Riley, tell us what we should do.
Yeah, I'm writing to my intuition. Just on that, right to your intuition.
Yeah.
By summer.
Oh man.
So
well, thank you. I really appreciate the safe space. It's really fun to share my story in this way, and it feels like a next level in my self-expression, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And
your website, and how can people contact you?
wildaircoaching.com. You can go to my website.
Okay, well,
Well, thank you again for the safe space. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
it is our pleasure. Oh my gosh.
We're honored that this is the first time you've told your story.
Yeah.
That is so cool. We feel so like
We love you.
yeah.
It felt so good. It was downstream. It was flowed. It was like, yep, this is it.
Yeah.
Aw.
So,
It does. Doesn't it feel so light? Just, I mean, it's something that you said that you've talked about with other people, but to be able to publicly put it out there, it just feels like,
Mhm.
okay.
yeah,
Now
here's
you
my gift.
now you
Yeah.
can casually talk about it. You can kind of make a little post about like, you know, leaving, blah, blah.
yeah.
It's just, it doesn't need to be this huge ordeal anymore because now it's
It
done.
feels so good.
Yeah.
Totally.
Beautiful.
Totally.
We feel 100% connected with you. You're
Yeah,
amazing.
you're
Riley.
our new best friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll make a trip.
Summer, you have to come to our cert grad. Like, we'll just make a little room for her in the.
You. They're all, who is she? I'm like, don't worry about it.
Oh, don't worry about her. You know, she gets along. She gets us, so we invited her along. You know?
I'll just pack her in a little suitcase and I'll put her in the corner with like a little hole.
Yeah.
Wagon behind
So
you.
hold on. So you guys both live in Phoenix, right? Phoenix? Is that
Yeah.
what you said? You both live in Phoenix. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'm in Palm Springs, so 4 hours away. No problem.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a business trip and we're gonna go to California this summer. So
We'll
when we're
stop by.
passing through, we'll come and say hi.
Yeah, and bring me along.
Hey, we'll smoke some cannabis together.
Yes.
Talk to God and his
Yes.
shit.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
All
Riley.
right.
for being
Thank
on.
you.
Your story was beautiful.
It was so
this is going to resonate with so many
Yes.
people, and
Thank you.
I'm excited to share it.
Yeah, me too.
You're amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love you, Riley.
All right, we love
Mwah.
you.
Love you too, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Say My Name Project.